Being the hour of 7:02, we'll open the Selectmen's Meeting of December 3rd. The first item on the agenda is presented by Dr. Antoinette Parvis, Toys for Tots.
Thank you.
Seems like you were just here.
It does seem like that, doesn't it? And Pockets is here on his annual visit, but he's busy with a bully stick, so I think that'll keep him occupied. So, nice to see you. Thanks for having me. It does seem like yesterday. The years go very fast. And it's Toys for Tots time again, which never seems to get old for me because it seems like every year is the first time. So Toys for Tots is the United States founded and organized charity for collecting toys for children in need during the holiday season. And I've been a sponsor now for my 31st year, so it's been a part of my life, most of my life. And it's a great charity. It's really a feel-good charity. It pushes people through difficult times and really changes the lives of families when things can be very difficult during this time. So I have my community reception, and right now the toy drive is going on really strong. We're collecting, again, new unwrapped toys. My office is a drop-off point at 216 Main Street, right here in Oxford. And my community reception is Saturday, December 14th, 11 until 1. And during that day, I invite the community to come in. We have Santa, we have the Marines, we have a little cheer and music, and it's a really nice event to thank the community for donating and welcoming the community to come and join into the festivities and participate in Toys for Tots. So as always, I have a lot of people to thank, and I don't want to forget anybody, so if I do, it's not intentional. But naturally, the Marines, the League Detachment, 1094, those are the gentlemen you see with the red jackets on. They are the League Detachment, and my connection with them, with the Marines, is that's the local detachment. That's the local connection so that we ensure that the donations stay local. So that's very important. I say that every year, but that's why I really make a point of that. And we work great together every year. The Clara Barton School, once again, Principal Baroni, they do a toy drive every year, and they collect toys and they bring them over. So they've been participating for a number of years, and I always appreciate that. Now, well, before I get to your treats, you all enjoying those nice little treats I gave you? Hold up your treats. Some of the local businesses. Somebody opened theirs. Didn't you open yours to start with?
I already ate it.
I
already ate it.
Oh, I'll have to give you another
A
one.
sweet tooth.
You
What
have
can
to
I
have
say?
them. IPG Photonics, they do a toy drive every year as well on my behalf, so they're busy doing that, and I really appreciate that. I have a very, very, very wonderful assistant, Wendy Clem, who helps me in everything I do in my business, but also is very active with the toy drive by my side. So I can't do it by myself. Now, the story behind the treats that you have in your hand, or some of you have in your belly, these are handmade from a very nice woman from Fabrico, and her name is Mrs. Nancy Russell. And I love getting phone calls like this every year. She picked up the phone, called me up, and told me she makes these by hand. And you can see there's Santa and, candy canes and all kinds of stuff that she makes, snowman. She makes it by hand, and she also makes a reindeer sleigh with the reindeer and Santa, and she's raffling this off over at Fabrico. So she's holding a raffle, and all the monies are going to be donated to Toys for Tots. So I really appreciate that, because her platform is Make-A-Wish Foundation. So usually she does these fundraisers for Make-A-Wish, and so she's sharing the time of this raffle with Toys for Tots, as well as Make-A-Wish. So I really appreciate that. So a big shout out to Nancy. I hope she does well and people are generous, but that's where the treats came from. My very good friends, Dan and Pat Bonette, who certainly make sure that Santa arrives every year on time and in good form. So I really thank them. Access Oxford, of course, they come and they film the event. And it's not just what they do on that day, it's the fact that it helps publicize Toys for Tots. It helps raise awareness. And any volunteer knows the biggest job and the hardest part is raising awareness. So once you get the word out, it really, really builds and grows, as it's done over the years. I don't make a lot of phone calls anymore, or solicit as much. It really has grown where it comes to me each and every year with something different. So a big shout out to them, to thank them. My fellow Lions, the Oxford Lions Club, Dudley Lions Club, and Charlton Lions Club, again, a great support to this. And a lot of people donate their time and their talent to this. And if you're past my office today, you saw the League Detachment guys out there, but you saw Stephen Kelly out there from Kelstar Painting. And as he's done in the years past, but he hangs all the signs you see on my office building. Can't do that by myself in my high heels on a ladder. So, you know, great, you know, help to that, and it makes the building look great. And Pockets is going to just go around and say hello.
Watch your treats.
Watch the treats. Watch
Looking
the
for the
treats.
treats.
So again, a big thank you to Stephen Kelly from Kelstar Painting. The building looks great, and again, makes it really looks nice. Really looks great. And Rich from Flint Signs, he picks up my Toys for Tots sign every year, and he changes the lettering and the date on it, picks it up, brings it back. So there's a lot of people, again, that really, you know, participate in this event. I don't do it by myself. And naturally, the support of the community, so many, you know, lovely people come in every day donating toys. You hear their stories, and they really donate from their heart. So again, great charity. I'm very privileged to be a part of it, and I hope that you find it in your heart to donate a new unwrapped toy, drop it off to my office or any Toys for Tots drop-off point, whatever is convenient for you. Pockets is gonna say hello to Karen. And you can tell him stop, go away. He doesn't get hurt, but he's gonna make himself at home. He's a very good animal. So thanks for inviting us. I know Pockets makes his appearance here once a year too. So again, a good cause, good cheer for a good cause. So I really hope again, this year I'm sure is gonna turn out great. It always does. And you know, I invite you to join the festivities that day if you're available. Selectman Sad, you came last year. I think you saw what a really nice event it is, and I appreciate that as well. I'm gonna grab my dog. Come here. Hey. Nope. All right. I'll let him go do his thing. Come over here. Attaboy. Sit. Any questions, comments
Board members?
for me?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Yeah.
December 14th,
Yeah.
where's that gonna be?
That's at my office, 216 Main Street,
And what time?
11 to 1. And that's my office, and that's an official drop-off point for Toys for Tots as well. So I'm collecting now as well, and then the 14th, you know, I kind of wrap it up with a community reception. So, yeah, come by if you can.
And
Any
I
other
was
questions?
there last year, and I was amazed at how many people came in and out of there just in the short period that I was there,
Yeah, right.
dropping off gifts.
Mhm.
And just the spirit
Mhm.
of people
Right,
at that
Right.
event that day was just amazing.
it is. It's a
And,
real,
It makes you very proud to know that there's a community that is as
Right.
giving
right.
as Oxford is.
Exactly. And that's what is nice, and that's what makes it so special is when, you know, when you put yourself out there with something that you're passionate about and people embrace it, it's very, very fulfilling. So yes, it's something that the community embraces, and it works out great every year.
You should give yourself a pat on the back because you've been doing this for a number of years
Long
now,
time,
and
yeah.
it's been super successful.
It has, yes, thank you.
Please continue.
I will, oh, absolutely. I hope to be a part of this for a long time, as long as they have me. It's a privilege to work with the Marines, you know, each and every year. And like I said, as you saw from what, I don't do it alone. I cannot do it alone. So I appreciate all the help that is, how it's received so well. So thank you for having us. Pockets was a very good boy, I think, huh? So he knows he
Made himself
has-
at home.
Made himself at home. Isn't that nice? How many town selectmen's meeting can you bring a pet to, huh? Thanks again. Enjoy the holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and very much in good health, all good things. So
Same
thanks
to
for
you.
having me, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is Chief Hassett.
Thank you.
How you doing, Chief?
Hi, good, thank you. How about yourself?
Too bad.
Good.
Okay, we all received a copy of the memo that you had sent to us regarding your request. And I'm sure that the board has a lot of questions. And
Certainly.
I'm going to leave it up to you to open it up and to tell us why you feel you need this position.
Thanks very much. In following up, yes, I did submit a memo to the board. I'm sure you've all read it. I've spoken to each and every one of you via phone or in person. I appreciate the opportunity to do that and to try to explain my position on it. One of the things I want to just start out with is that, maybe the question's going to be asked, certainly why do we need a lieutenant, but maybe why now and so forth. I have to say, and I think that maybe a couple of selectmen have been on the board for a while previous have, if you recall, my predecessors in a position have also sought to fill the position of lieutenant. As a matter of fact, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, maybe a little bit more, the sergeants, I was one at the time, took the lieutenant's test. And part of that, the town had to ask for a certification number for that to be given. It was done, so the test was taken. The position wasn't filled at that time. So I wanted to clarify that in case there's any questions. Why do we need a lieutenant? You have my memo, but to summarize, the town has definitely grown over the past several years, no question about it, and the workload has significantly increased. Just to go back a little bit, little history, in 2003, there were 19,175 police-related calls. In 2008, over 32,000 police-related calls. Up to this point, early December, over 36,500 police-related calls. Another reason, the request lieutenant, technology is constantly changing, no doubt about it. I think we all recognize that. More mandatory training is required with the implementation of a lieutenant under the oversight of the police chief would be a tremendous asset to assist in these matters, such as how to best utilize our resources and provide the town with the best possible police service. I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel, to invent a new position. There was a lieutenant here many years ago. We haven't had one since, and I don't know why. I know my predecessors have been concerned about that and have requested that. One of the things the lieutenant would do, amongst other things, would provide proper command structure in our department, which I believe is lacking that. We have a terrific staff. However, I think that it could be much improved and utilized in a better way. Lieutenant will certainly allow for problems and issues to be solved in a more efficient manner through the chain of command, through a sergeant, through a lieutenant to the chief, to help solve issues in a more proactive rather than reactive way, to get on top of things quicker. It certainly will allow for a more thorough analysis of costs that we deal with and to assist the chief in a more efficient manner. One of the things also with regards to a lieutenant, it's a non-union position, and it clearly establishes a second officer in command. And that's very important. So the lines is drawn through the command structure, and for whatever reason, the chief is out on vacation, an injury, or anything else, sickness, that lieutenant would be in charge of the department. Right now, it's the officer in charge, the sergeant, the senior sergeant. Does a great job, but that's suited for a lieutenant. One of the things to mention too is that many of the surrounding communities have a lieutenant for many of the reasons I just mentioned, and even more, I'm sure. It's tried and tested. It works. It allows for better communications and smoother operations. And one of the things, before I explain some of the things the lieutenant does, is no matter what discussion is tonight and what comes of this, we're always going to do our job, always, no matter what. We're going to work hard and try to do this. I'm bringing this up tonight because I truly believe it's the best way to provide the town with the best possible police service. That's the bottom line. One of the things, Lieutenant, or several things that would be involved with day-to-day operations, assist the chief with community policing issues or programs, patrol issues, such as scheduling and vehicles, overseeing or coordinating investigations and detective issues, school resource officer, dispatch, we wouldn't be the school resource officer, just working with the school resource officer. Dispatch coordination and issues, oversight of that. And the reason I mention that is a huge thing right now, and I think the town manager can attest as far as all the training that they have to have today. It's a different game today. There's no doubt about it. It has to be much more involved, and a lieutenant specifically dedicated to these issues that I'm explaining is going to make us run much more efficiently in that way. training coordination, in-service training for us, academy coordination, assist with hiring, community policing, as I mentioned earlier, also assist the chief in internal affairs matters. That's some of the things for a lieutenant. And as a result, with the chief's position, and I explained the role of the police chief, but just to rehash a few things, one of the biggest things, and certainly is the overall department operations and the budget, department expenditures. That's huge. Sets the mission and direction for the police department, establishes its goals. One of those goals is to get a lieutenant to help us run more efficiently. Work on areas of concern, to have assistance from the lieutenant with grant management, with grants, internal affairs, issues with our building, oversight of the evidence room in the armory, overall citizens' complaints, department webpage. We provide responsible information to the town manager, the board of selectmen, and other departments as needed. The department head, the chief, is on issues with the emergency operations center, and the lieutenant would be instrumental in that also as a second in command if, God forbid, a major event occurs, but we know that's possible, to assist with that for the proper command structure to help us run efficiently. And that just, I believe, complements what I had written in my memo to you. And, one of the things I'm sure is a huge concern, as it should be, is the financial impact. And as a result of looking at the issues, the numbers and so forth, from fiscal 14 to fiscal 15, it would be basically level funded with the lieutenant or even a slight decrease. That's what the current roster we have now on board, and with the addition of hopefully one officer in the spring or whenever at the first step level. These officers will be hired at the first step at significantly lower rate, which makes up the difference with the lieutenant's position. So that would be 21 officers. It would be one chief, 4 sergeants, a lieutenant, 15 patrolmen. That's about 27-28% command structure. That brings us up to probably average, maybe close to average, I would say. Some are 26, 27, some are 33. It's 32 in the areas that I'm talking about, the surrounding towns. I think that the bottom line with the chief, he's responsible for all of this. He oversees these things. He's responsible for all of it. So, but I believe delegation is a very important marrow of a police department and to command structure for us to run efficiently. The communication, all these things can be improved. Our group, like I wrote in the memo, is second to none. But I'm looking for a way to be better. I've spoken to, I think, several of you, even in years past, and timing just wasn't right, monies and so forth. I believe this can work. Thank you.
Board members have questions of the chief? Yes.
Certainly do.
Mr. Voss.
Mike, right now, who is doing all these functions, responsibilities, duties that the lieutenant would take on? So I imagine someone's doing this now, correct?
We're talking anything, like I just mentioned, different things here.
I mean, in general terms, these things are being done.
With, regarding internal affairs and things like that, myself, patrol sergeants that are involved with these issues now, with these areas of.
Is it any one sergeant that's doing this, or is it a effort with all of the sergeants?
Yeah, it's something that, that they have been, all of them assigned, such as Sergeant Gannett right now, and he will be, he's our school resource officer. Sergeant Green, and he will continue in this manner, he's in charge of sexual assault unit. Sergeant Marcelonis, regarding the armory, oversees certain things with the armory and helps us process evidence and so forth. Sergeant Sad oversees dispatch issues along with myself, firearms, the other things, as well as their patrol function duties, patrol sergeant duties. And that's where the concern comes in, because even with that said, the sergeants are still going to assist in these issues, in these matters. However, to have one person, an operations lieutenant, dedicated to these issues that I just explained, I truly believe is going to help us run more efficiently, because we're much more busy. We're not any more smarter or anything than our predecessors. I don't mean that, but it's just the technology's changed. Everything's so fast-paced now, and we have to have more training than we've ever had. And I'm talking about the accountability, because of the issues of liability also. This gives us more, makes our command structure more fulfilled and complete.
Would a lieutenant, would that be a first shift position primarily?
That's up for discussion, but I believe it would be.
It'd be primarily a first shift, and if the lieutenant had to come in, say, second shift or third shift, he'd make himself available, or he or she would make themselves available?
Yes, whatever, however we felt it needed to be
And how
addressed.
would that work with lieutenant as far as any type of outside duties he might have?
Well,
as
that's
far as-
something, okay, that's something that I think would come under the, and please, somebody interject if I'm missing something, the personnel rules and whatnot, how it's, the board.
Well, we don't have a position for lieutenant, we would have to create them, would we not?
I would say, and just, I can only speak, Mike, to speaking and looking at other contracts and so forth, or personnel rules with other lieutenants, and you're talking outside details, things like that?
Outside details or private security, things of that
No,
nature?
I would say, the majority that I dealt with and spoken with, there are a couple that do work, but mostly no, they don't. That's not permitted. I will say, with overtime, there may be times of emergencies. With patrol issues, although a lieutenant would oversee the day-to-day patrol issues, not as the patrol sergeant, but just daily activities and so forth, wouldn't work overtime as on patrol unless that was the last choice. He would not be in the union, so that goes through a rotated list with the patrolmen and the sergeants.
So the lieutenant wouldn't be used to alleviate overtime problems,
If-
fill-ins, things of that nature?
If needed to be, the bottom line, the chief has that discretion with that, because I've even worked if I needed to
So-
fill in.
I have quite a few questions, so I'm sorry, the board members, if I ramble here a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's okay.
So he's not gonna, the lieutenant's not gonna be used to for the most part, overtime, fill-ins, that's not gonna be, only in a very
Correct, he would be the
serious-
last one.
He'd be
to
the last
to be-
resort, so to speak.
To call
Okay.
for that. It'd be an operations lieutenant. But still a police officer, as well as I am,
Right.
but.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In vehicle, would the lieutenant have a separate vehicle, or would he be using the same vehicle pool that they primarily use as a sergeant? How would that work?
The only thing I can tell you regarding that too, Mike, is that I've seen departments, it's kind of half and half that have one and some don't. So I can't, right now, I would say just just use a vehicle, come to work, and take a vehicle, an unmarked cruiser or,
So you're not looking,
that's something maybe we can discuss, but
well, I mean, it's important that
I-
we have
I- I
everything
think-
out
I
there,
understand.
because
I understand.
I'm getting down to the cost factor, and
Yes.
whether or not this is a viable.
Yes.
As you realize, I mean, we're always tight for money in the town. We have a lot of things that we need to do, so we need to make sure that every dollar that we spend is spent wisely, and we want to make sure that all the cards are laid on the table today, so we don't have any unforeseen expenses further on down the line. We want to make our decision based upon what the reality of it's going to be, not what we think might happen, or.
Well, one of the things to try to clarify that I would say to you, I'm not concerned about a vehicle for a lieutenant. I would much rather have the lieutenant.
Okay, and this position as a lieutenant would be a salaried position? How would
Yes.
it- And it would be
Yes.
based upon the same way a sergeant gets a certain percentage over a patrolman along the same lines. How would you figure that salary? What would be the formula, so to speak?
Well, I believe, correct me if I'm out of turn here, but like under personnel rules and a certain level that he would be starting at, like there's the personnel rules and.
Right, okay, I'm not looking for an exact number, but you must have a dollar figure. What is this position gonna cost the town of Oxford if we,
I would say between 94 and 98,000.
so we're looking at 94, 98. And then we'd be looking at other expenses such as any benefits the lieutenant may have, health insurance.
Well, things that other officers,
Right, exactly, but I'm just saying getting back to the brass tacks, what's this gonna cost the taxpayers of the
yes.
town of Oxford? So presuming it's a family plan, we're looking at either $19,000 to $20,000 on top of the 98.
You know, one of the things, and I understand that I would say, and when I presented the bottom dollar for fiscal 15, that includes raises, contractual raises that are due to the patrol sergeants and to the patrolmen. And I understand there's a concern, like with the lieutenant, but you know, I want to just try to get across, and I believe everybody knows this, but if I could just say this just once again, it's not creating a new position. It's not a brand-new position. It's, you know, presumably going to come from a sergeant's position, and that'll be a certain increased raise, certainly. But we recently lost, excuse me, 3 officers in the last 6 months or so, for all the reasons that you know of. And we've replaced with one so far, Officer Aquafresco, who's going to the academy in January. Started at the first level rate. That's a significant savings. If we hire another officer in the spring, and that'll bring us to 21, and I figured that in my projections to you, that's another significant savings. And that's why I can say to you that even with, you know, there are some things that are going to be unforeseen, like obviously injuries or illnesses. I can't, you know, I don't have a crystal ball. We'll have to deal with those as they come along, and we'll all pitch in and work with that. But even with shift differential, which these officers have had for a while, and even with the stipends that our new hires have, that's a college degree, Mike, they get $100 for this and that. I figured that in, and that comes out to that projected amount, which is still equal or less than what we have right now in our budget for the officers, the chief and the lieutenant, and I projected this, and that has to be negotiated. That's just,
And I understand that that's short term, that's this year, next year, the year after, but eventually these new hires are going to get to their full step, and they're gonna be getting full pay, so your costs are gonna go up every year.
the one thing I would say that, Mike, and I would agree with that, but we're getting older too, and we're gonna be leaving. So, you know, that's gonna cycle out. That's,
You ain't that old.
no, well, I'm not saying I'm that old. I'm talking about other guys, but I'm talking about myself
Please not
included. But that being said, in all seriousness, that is, we have several officers in their 50s. That's going to cycle out, and that's going to lend itself to new officers and the new leadership. And I believe this command structure is the way to do that in an efficient manner. You know, we're all going to participate in everything that goes on, but I just think it's the most, in the foreseeable future, as far as finances, and I get it, Mike, I look at my, every week GEMS, that's our, you know, software that we, you know, look to budget, and I look at it quite often, and my sergeants know that. I mean,
But, okay, so just getting back to the dollars and cents, I understand there's gonna be, but what would be wrong with the idea of possibly, I know you want a 4th sergeant, and that's sort of a problem, that's the real sticking point for me, Mike.
yep,
I understand that, you know, you have officers in the department who are doing the job of a lieutenant now. I understand that, and I appreciate that. I've worked with every one of your sergeants, and I think that they'd all make excellent lieutenants, and I think they'd all make excellent chiefs someday.
Thank you.
This is no way, I'm not speaking against your officers at all. I think they're all excellent, right down the line, but if we could have a different method to get what we hope for, you know, I mean, I would support moving a sergeant to a lieutenant, to give him, you know, the rank he deserves, you know, and it may free up the other sergeants to do other things. Along the same lines, you know, please, I'm not a police officer, I'm not you know, so I'm not educated in the field of law enforcement whatsoever. But why can't we take a sergeant, promote him to lieutenant, not backfill the sergeant position? And I know that a lot of your sergeants, they do duty, they do details. And if we could free up the lieutenant from doing details, that would give him the extra time he's gonna need for these additional duties he's gonna have as a lieutenant. What is wrong with that thought?
Mike, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think with a 4th sergeant, that would end up just, let's say it's the junior sergeant, this gives us total coverage. This is why we had 4 sergeants before. And in the monies that I presented, the budget, Mike, that included that. And I even took the highest paid patrolman with with his college degree, just as an example, not to choose them, but just A, B, whatever, the highest one at a sergeant rate, with the hiring of a patrolman at the lowest rate, and here's how I came up with the figure. And it gives us all that coverage, the proper coverage, certainly a majority of the time, if not all the time. And it covers, especially that second and third shift, it especially covers both those shifts. And that's why I would say that. That's why, I understand what you're saying, but.
Your first shift, and if you had a lieutenant, you would have yourself. You would have a lieutenant. You have two administrators there. Doesn't that somewhat, there again, I'm probably speaking out of school, but doesn't that somewhat eliminate the need for a sergeant on that shift? Not, but wouldn't it lessen the burden quite a bit by having a lieutenant? I mean, you have your first shift sergeant now, Officer Sad. And he does a lot of this stuff. I know from dealing with Officer Sad, Sergeant Sad.
Yep.
During the Oxford 300, the officer did a fantastic
Sure
job.
did.
You know, it was incredible.
Yep.
What he did for us, and I know that he does this because I've seen him in other aspects of his job, and some of those are the duties of the lieutenant. So that leads me to believe, or that's where I get the thought process that maybe we can take a sergeant and not backfill a position and see how it goes. It'd be a minimal increase to the town of Oxford, and that's what I'm really looking out for, is the total expense. I believe that if any department's budget runs under, I don't think we should, I'm not saying this is what you're doing, but we shouldn't look for new things to spend money on. We should possibly look to maybe kick some money back, maybe, go a little under level funding.
And I certainly understand where you're coming from.
There's so many things in town that need, I was at the community center the other day, and Joe knows this, that building is in severe disrepair. We have bathrooms that need to be repaired. We have paint falling off the wall. Sean Dival saying, we need another $500,000 a year for the next 20 years to bring our roads up to snuff. And just basic, simple math, 125 grand, that's a quarter of that. I'm just looking out for the taxpayer, looking to see what we can do with our money, stretch it as far as we can go. There again, I understand where you're coming from. It'd be nice to have the help, but I'm looking to do it in a more equitable fashion.
And I certainly understand that. We have more calls than we've ever had. We're double than we were 10 years ago. And I certainly am sympathetic to what you just stated, Mike. It's, my town. I take pride in it and so forth. I work here. And I certainly am sympathetic to that. But one of the things that I really feel so strongly about is public safety and the proper supervision that patrolmen, dispatchers, everybody is given. And so I think and I certainly am sympathetic to like looking to save money. That's your function, and I respect that from every one of you. I'm just coming to you to let you know that I think that this can work, and I think it's a win-win. There isn't many of those. I think this is. I really do, because I think we can get it done, and I think we have the proper command, the people here now that are dedicated, that, it's just gonna be that much more efficient, Like I said, no matter what, we're gonna always do our job.
And I understand, and I guess that's kind of my point. The things are getting done. They could possibly get done better, We all have room for improvement, but I'm looking at the cost to benefit. I'm looking at real money of $120,000 a year, real money. I mean, no matter how you slice it, it's money we're gonna spend that we might not have to spend. So I'm looking at it from a standpoint, can we get the same thing, or a semblance of the same thing, by possibly moving one sergeant to a lieutenant's position, giving him his rightful title. I understand that you have a sergeant who's doing a lot of this already, and I don't want anyone to, I think people should be paid for what they do. I'm a firm believer in that. But I won't support a position of adding a lieutenant, or promoting a sergeant to a lieutenant and backfilling that lieutenant's position. I think that what's in the best interest of the town of Oxford is that we promote someone to lieutenant, but we do not backfill the sergeant's position. We're running with 3 sergeants for the years. We did it, and things worked out okay, and things could have been better.
I think we were lucky.
No, I understand where you're coming from, but this is, you know, my thought on this, and I've taken enough time.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, Mike, I'm going to actually be total opposite from what the selectman is. I see it as a good thing. I've talked to you, I've talked to some of your sergeants. There are a lot of problems with the operation the way it exists now. One, to me, is very clear and decisive, and that's a discipline issue. That a sergeant in the same union as a patrolman has to be the disciplinarian for a patrolman if something goes wrong, and I think that is not right. It eventually comes to you, yes, but I think having the lieutenant would be a big positive. I still fondly believe that we need the 4 sergeants too, because we need those shifts covered. So when you have people on vacation or sick leave or whatever, we need that. As far as what this is going to cost, you're saying that for the next couple of years, things look pretty good, you know, as we're going to be able to cover this with the budget you have. But things are going to go up, you know. Because you look 10 years ago, what people made and what the economy was is totally different today. It's going to be totally different 5 years from now. So nothing is going to go down. You've got twice the calls. Well, twice the calls, you need twice the manpower. Well, maybe not twice the manpower, but you need a lot more manpower when you have that many more calls. I think this is very important. It would definitely help the structure a lot smoother so that by the time it would free up a little of your time, definitely is going to free up those sergeants' time. I mean, how much of their percentage of their time do they have to do these other things they have to do, like training and all that jazz that you mentioned, when they still have to be on the roll? Their primary job is to making sure that the patrolmen that are doing their jobs are doing it, you know? So how are they going to know that? They got to be out there. They got to be traveling out there with them. They can't be sitting in an office or in the police station doing this other stuff. They should be out there, you know? And that's, and to me, public safety is number one. Number one, okay? Yeah, it costs a little bit more. It costs us because we need it. You know, when somebody calls and needs a police officer, they want it then. They don't want to wait. They want it then. They want action. They need us to step up to this. I think it's a great thing, and that's my opinion, so I'm all in support of this. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Bruce.
Do you work a 4-day week, or do you work Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday.
So the lieutenant would work on the weekends, correct? Or would he work-
That would have to be, whether it's a 5 and 2 with every third Friday, or a 4 and 2 schedule like he does, like a sergeant does now.
I mean, I think if you should be there when you're not there. If the lieutenant is covering your position, he should be there when you're not there.
I understand.
And also, a sergeant's position, an NCO's position, is to discipline the troops. So I don't see why you said it was.
Because they're in the same union as the patrolmen. So how can I be in a union with the patrolmen and disciplining them?
Because you
They
have
should
the
be a
rank.
separate, it should be a separate disciplinary situation. You know, you're in the same union.
But you're in the
It's a
same army, too.
conflict.
In the same army, and I was an
Yeah,
NCO, I had to discipline my
But you're
troops.
not in the same, you don't have any union rights like they have now with discipline.
But you still have to do it. It's an NCO's position.
I know, but it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it works, Al.
Well-
You know, so, we could go round and round on this. I
I agree with you, Lieutenant, because we talked about it, you know, chain of command should go down like
Yes, we
that.
did. Yeah.
But I feel that lieutenant should be there when you're not there, like we talked about.
Yes, John.
With the increase in calls, would it make more sense to hire more patrolmen to answer the calls at a lower salary?
I think regarding that, with the patrolmen, they're the backbone, I will say that, and the patrol sergeant is as a supervisor, very important. I think, how I'd answer that, Jared, is that I think with the supervisory sergeant, it's a 10% increase over a patrolman to start out. And I think with new people, it's so important to have that supervision on the road with them. They're patrol sergeants, so they'll answer the calls also. And, they'll get off, on the right foot regarding that. So I understand your point with the patrolman, but I think that they have to be trained properly also. And I think the sergeant goes a long way with that, to do that.
And as far as, if you don't backfill a sergeant's position, is there a big pay difference between a patrol officer and a sergeant's position, or?
A patrolman, a sergeant, the first-year sergeant, it goes in 3 steps. The first, when a sergeant's appointed, it's 10% above a patrolman.
Okay.
12.5 after 2 years, 15 after 3, and it ends there.
All right, because I was just gonna say, if there isn't a sergeant's position replaced and there's only 3, and another patrolman is replaced, is added instead, there'd be a little bit of a savings. I don't know if that would be something that.
I just feel so strongly about supervision and the sergeant's position to, especially with new people coming on. We just hired 4 intermittents, 5, I should say, a new full-time officer, and I just think it's so important to have the proper supervision. And I'm not insensitive, once again, to the cost. I get it. I just think that the projections that I have here, and going into a new contract year in FY15, where it shows that it's going to be minimal, even possibly a savings, I think that's, that's not bad. I understand your point. I just think that it can work with the 4 sergeants.
And as far as it's a non-union position, do the pension benefits differ or not?
Was the kind of retirement, is that what you mean?
Right, yeah.
No, it's the same.
I mean, that's another concern too, is, with a higher paid salary and pensions, once somebody retires, it's a long payment to make. And, even with the increase in salaries across the board, that number goes up for everybody. And, it's a lot of money to have to pay out for a town, and, so it's just, pensions are concerned.
The only thing I would say to that is, like you had mentioned before, Mr. Lamarche, is that the costs are going to increase, and I understand you need to look at those things. Once again, you're not hiring a new person, you're hiring from within the department, so it's not a whole new body. The new body would be a patrol officer at the minimal rate.
Chief, I have a couple of questions. First of all, I'd like to start out by saying that and you're well aware of the budgetary crisis that we've faced over this past recession. It's not over. It's just not over. You know that.
I do.
And we have to do a balancing act here. We not only have the police department, but we have other departments across general government. And we try to make sure that each department gets what they need to properly dispense what they have to dispense regarding services to the public. I think that the police department is a very, very important department within town government, as well as other departments. But as well as I do, that the police department has always gotten our attention. When you needed something, we were there. You had to justify it, but we were there.
Yes.
Okay? 2 years ago, when I became chairman, I sat down with you, and I said, one of my priorities as chairman is to ensure that this board gives you the boots on the ground that you need. And I kept that promise. This board kept that promise. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm sitting on this board, you will get the necessary bodies on the ground to do the job. That's where it starts, with patrolmen on the beat, in the cruisers. That's where it's at.
Yes.
As far as the administration goes, I'm a firm believer that you need adequate representation as far as management is concerned. In theory, I'm in favor of a lieutenant's position. But I'm the type of a person that you have to prove that you can justify that position, not only administratively, but physically. Okay? We have to make sure that we have the funding to be able to do this. Right now, I'm not so sure that I have enough information as far as the funding is concerned regarding this position. I mean, we know that this position is going to be outside of the union. We know that there are personal rules and regulations that are gonna have to be adopted, and I believe the manager and you have already worked with the personnel board regarding this, so you have an idea about where the salary range would
Yes.
be. But in addition to that, there's a contract that we would have to have with that lieutenant as an administrator, because he's not a union employee.
Yes.
There are benefits that we have to look at as well. You know, briefly, one of the selectmen mentioned the insurance. That's $20,000 a year. Okay? That's not included, that comes out of the town's end of everything. Okay, we pay the insurance. They only pay a small percentage of that health insurance cost. So we have to factor that in as well. It was mentioned about a cruiser. I was glad to hear you say we can operate a lieutenant's position without a cruiser. Okay, so that's one thing that makes sense. One of the problems I have is backfilling that sergeant's position. I just can't get in my mind how you can say things are gonna be level funded when you're, in fact, adding another position. I
If I
don't,
could explain that,
yeah, please try to.
with the FY14 budget appropriated for 22 officers, which was very grateful for that, but it was the end of last year, FY13, we just made it. We barely made it, and we did. And FY14 appropriated for 17 officers, patrol officers, 4 sergeants, and a chief. And I never want to lose anybody, but when we lost 3 officers, and I looked at the figures, and I looked at the schedule, and I looked at how that would work, I'm requesting that the board appropriate, or the finance committee, for 15 patrol officers, 4 sergeants, a lieutenant, and a chief. So the lieutenants, so the patrol officers right there, you're saving, last year, the budget for FY14 was $1,023,000 and change. What I'm asking for is $890,000. That's the difference right there, because there's 15 patrol officers, and there's 1 less officer overall. So that right there, that makes up for the lieutenant's position and the 4th sergeant. So that's why, when I submit my budget, it will show that, 15 officers, 15 patrol officers. There was 17 before. Now there's 15, but the supervision will be there, and there'll be a lieutenant there.
See, that's where I have my problem. I just told you, I'm an advocate of the boots on the ground first. That's where it comes. And what you're telling me is you're gonna reduce 2 patrolmen off your budget to help fund this position, the sergeant's position, the 4th sergeant's position.
Yeah, because I feel
I
that we.
mean, this
yeah.
board struggled to get you up to staffing as far as patrolmen are concerned, and now you're telling us you want to reduce that number by 2 so that you can have a lieutenant and a new sergeant.
I don't want to reduce it, but I think it's the best utilization of our resources. That's what I truly believe. And when we were appropriated for 22 officers, that was going to be extremely difficult to meet that, the money that was appropriated for us. It was going to be very difficult. It was going to be right on the edge. I never want to lose officers, but I feel so strongly about the lieutenant's position and the sergeant's position as a patrol sergeant to answer calls, which would be able to cover these shifts. I'm very grateful for everything. When we've discussed these things, Mr. Sad, you have provided and given what you said you were gonna. You have. You followed through on that. I'm just looking to improve us in this way, and I don't think it is a step back. I think it's a step forward, because we'll have enough people on the ground, like boots on the ground. The only thing is that with, and it's not even a big concern on day shift, there may be once or twice, a couple times on paper that it might not be a sergeant that's scheduled, but there are other people around. Our code officer is a police officer. He comes back and he helps on patrol. He's not just there like as, oh, you know, he helps on patrol. He comes back and is a big help to us, and he fills in. And if I ever have to fill overtime, it's for 4 hours usually, maybe less, because he comes back and he gets in the cruiser. So I understand what you're saying, I do. And, you know, they are very important, these officers, there's no question.
And another thing too, as far as, let me start off by saying, I'm in favor of a lieutenant's position.
Yeah.
But I have to justify it in my mind, and I have to justify it to the people that are paying the tab, okay? So I have to feel comfortable that we're doing something that is fiscally responsible here. And I'm not sure I have enough information at this point to make that decision. That's me personally. Can't speak for the other members of the board. If you can show me dollars and cents, black and white, right down to the penny, you got my support for a lieutenant's position. You know, I think that this board has been very, very good to the police department as far as support is concerned, budgetary and otherwise. Okay, when it came time for a new police station, you had our 100% cooperation. We made sure that you got the best. And as far as the police officers in that department, I would say Oxford is second to none.
I agree.
And that's why I have no qualms about continuing with an OIC in the absence of a sergeant. Because you have people that have been in that department for a long time. They're very well qualified to take charge. So if we can save a buck by not having that other sergeant and rely on those officers that we have that we know can do a good job being the OIC, I say that's one way where we can reduce the cost so that we can justify a lieutenant's position. Another thing, my feeling is, as far as the lieutenant's position is concerned, I feel that it is primarily a administrative position. That individual should be working shift 1, the first shift, and that person does what you do when you're not there. You're a salaried individual. The lieutenant should be a salaried individual. The lieutenant should not be allowed to work in the outside details. And overtime, the lieutenant should not get overtime. And the lieutenant should be expected to be on call, just like you're on call. You never know what's going to happen in a 24-hour period that would require your presence. And it's happened to you already since you've been a chief. And it's going to happen again. We don't know when. But if you're not available, that lieutenant is a salaried person and should be there. That person works, is a administrator, lieutenant, 24/7. That means on call, if needed. I mean, and all these things have to be spelled out in a contract, okay, which we haven't even discussed amongst ourselves, what we want to see in a contract. So there's a lot to this besides just coming and requesting a position, okay? I support it, but we have to afford it. That's all I'm telling you.
I understand and respect that. If there's anything I can do to, I'll be glad to type something up, show you the figures. I've written everything down. I have a budget here. And it does, one of the things I would ask, if there's not a fourth sergeant, would we have another patrolman in that place? If there's a lieutenant, a chief,
Well, you had 17.
and would there be?
Why can't you keep
16?
that staffing level?
I would love to be able to do that. There are a couple things, I think you're aware of one of them, out of my control right now, that I have to see how that plays out.
Right.
But, okay.
And the other thing, you mentioned a separate contract for the sergeants, a separate
A subunit?
union,
Yes, like a subunit,
taking them out of the current contract and creating
Subunit,
subunit?
yes. You know, one of the things, the patrolmen and sergeants have discussed this together, and, you know, the reason I supported the subunit is, I believe it clearly defines a line within the unit, separates the sergeants from the patrolmen, the subunit. I think it makes for more harmony with everybody, with the town, with the officers, with the sergeants. And that's one of the reasons I am a believer in it, and I even felt that way when I was a patrolman, and even as a sergeant, I felt that was good. Good way to do things.
I guess I have a hard time putting my mind around that, because I've worked with unions in the past. When I was a director of a state agency, I had unions that had supervisors within the same union.
Mhm.
And it wasn't an issue. And I guess I can't understand why this is an issue with the sergeants not being part of the same union.
And I think, as a result, that's why maybe a few of them I come here just to, in case there was some questions, but I think, with their, if there's maybe an issue with a supervisor and so forth, or, from a patrolman with a supervisor, I think maybe that's one of the reasons to separate that sort of thing. And, you know, I don't think that's a personality thing. It can be at times. I just think it's human nature with a sergeant, a supervisor, and a union with a.
It may be a good thing, I don't know. I'm
I
just
understand.
saying,
Yeah, I
in my
understand.
experience, I haven't dealt with this, because
Yes.
my social workers and their supervisors were all in the same union. I
Yes.
mean, everybody knows what the job descriptions are. Everybody knows if you get promoted from, say, a social worker to a supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
or a patrolman to a supervisor, there are certain duties and responsibilities
Absolutely.
that person has to do.
Yep, and I'm well aware of that. I've done that, and I think some things for a supervisor, and you can probably attest to it, aren't pleasant, but you do it. It's
do it.
part of the job. So I think there's nothing more, this is just in the sense that, not that there's any major issues, but maybe just to define the lines clearer, and regarding if there's any concerns with us, you know, a grievance or gripes with a supervisor or whatnot at a union meeting to discuss that issue, that the supervisor would be separate from that. That it would just be with the sergeants, and as patrolman would be separate from that, a subunit.
You know, and maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's,
I personally do, but I understand your point, because I've worked in that. You know, you do what you have to do.
Yeah, I just,
ahead.
I really don't understand it, and I come from a private sector background, and I know it's much different than what you're up against, but, you know, and maybe it's too simplistic of a view, but I have, you know, within our company, we have presidents, we have vice presidents, we have, you know, office administrators, we have project managers, we have foremen, we have lead guys, we have laborers, and we all work together in one harmony. That the foreman and the guys working in the field, there's, you know, when they come in for their annual review, you know, it's not a separate set of rules for this guy and for that guy. And I believe because it's that way, it does create some harmony, meaning, you know, 'cause we're all the same. We're all on the same team. We don't try to put barriers between people, and we try to keep the rules the same for everyone. And I understand it's a simplistic view, but I would certainly need more information from you, Mike, as to, or from some of the sergeants as to why this is something that's needed, you know. I'm just not getting that from this particular conversation we're having here.
any other comments from board members? Questions of the chief?
I do.
Yes.
I know, like I said, I would like to see a lieutenant working when you're not working.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're not working on weekends, he should be working. But you can't make a man work every weekend. Would you be willing to switch some of your days so a lieutenant could have, you know, a weekend off, and you work on a weekend?
Well, my contract reads that,
Okay.
you know, certain things with it. And I will say, though, I think with that, I'm very well aware of when people have vacation or sick time or time off, and I'm in the station almost every single day. Not that that's the catch-all. I'm not trying to, I go to work, whether I'm working hard or something, but I check the log almost every day. And I am on call. And if somebody was jammed up, if lieutenant had something going or whatnot, I sure would. I mean, I would be available if something was needed. But I'm always on call, so.
You know, I'm not looking for the board to make a decision tonight, but I'd ask you to just digest whatever was discussed here this evening, but maybe we can get a consensus if we're in favor of this position. If we are, then there's certain things we can do as a board, like, for example, contract. Duties and responsibilities of the lieutenant. Do we want that lieutenant to work overtime? Do we want that lieutenant to not have the availability to work outside details? All these things can be agreed upon at a later time. But if we agree on the concept, at least, we can explore it, and then at a future date, if we feel that the position has been justified, not only financially, but administratively, then we can take a vote on the position. But at least this gives us the ability to work things out now amongst ourselves. What do we want? What do we envision that position should be? And then maybe we could sit down with the chief or give the chief what our feedback is, and then we can get together and work together on this to see if it's viable.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
acceptable?
I mean, I agree 100%. The details are, the devil's in the details. We need to just, it's a concept, but we, to really solidify it, for me, you have my, I ranted on for half an hour. Everyone knows where I stand on the issue, but if we gotta move forward with a lieutenant's position, we need to know all the exact details. That way, 6 months down the road, it isn't something that, these things evolve into something, and I just don't want this to evolve into something that we weren't anticipating. So I think it's an excellent idea.
Okay. Then I will entertain a motion for the board to at least explore the concept of this, and we will decide after we've get all the information together, decide whether or not, what the conditions of that position will be.
I'll make that motion for discussion.
Okay? Do we have a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Discussion, yes.
Okay, I'm just curious, should we put some sort of time limit on this? Get this done in the near future rather than just leaving it out there and,
I'd like to get it done before budget season starts, before
Yes.
we get involved in presenting your budget. So we should,
I would-
probably get this done by at least the middle of January.
okay, I'm in favor of that, thank you.
Is that acceptable with the board? Okay, so the motion was made and seconded. Discussion, any further? There being none, we'll call for the vote.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you, Chief, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Hopefully, we'll be working together on this.
Thank you. Anytime, just, you know where I am, so.
I'll be getting you all some information and other, like on that part to come into.
If we could get it like on a piece of paper with all.
Oh, yeah,
numbers.
I've got a lot of stuff worked out.
Do you?
The how to do it stuff.
How to do it? Okay.
And the cost, that's important. It really is.
It has to be, because,
I support it.
if costs, we could have everything if it wasn't for the cost, right?
well, that's true, that's true.
Okay, managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a short report
Did we
this
take a
week.
vote on that?
Yes.
You did.
Okay.
We have a request for permission to host a road race walk. Boards received a request from the Barton Center for Diabetes Education to hold their 14th annual St. Patrick's Day Road Race Walk on Saturday, March 15th. The course for the race will be the same as in the past, and you have a map in your packages. Walkers will start at 12:30 p.m., runners will start at 1 p.m., registration will be at 12 noon at the Barton Center, 60 Clare Barton Road in North Oxford. For more information on the race, anyone interested in it should contact the Barton Center at 508-987-2056, extension 2003. Kaylee Driscoll at bartoncenter.org, that's, I think, is her email address. Neither Chief Hassett nor Chief Bemis have any concerns with the race. Pleasure of the board.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
The Board of Health has requested the services of a public health nurse. In the past, they've used the services of the Auburn District Association, which has now been lumped into the Auburn Visiting Nurses Association. We've determined the most cost-effective method will be an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Sutton. I think you have that model. It's from Town Council. Request the board vote to approve the agreement.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
Final action item is the board approved a new Class II license for Ramita Petroleum Incorporated at 109 Main Street back in October of this year. The owner just provided the bond information today, but it won't take effect until December 31st of 2013. Therefore, I'm requesting that the board void the Class II license, it's license number 1190, which was approved for Ramita Petroleum in October. The owner will be given a Class II license for 2014 on effective January 1st. Pleasure of the board to vote to void the Class II license number 1190.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 abstention, motion carries.
And a quick reminder, we will be running a rabies clinic again. This is early notice. It'll be held on February 1st, 2014, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the town hall. The fee is $10 cash per animal. That was wishful thinking on my part. It's $10 cash per animal. You can access the town hall by using the handicap entrance at the back of the town hall. And the town clerk's office will be open for licensing pets as well. Cat licenses are due by February 28th to avoid a late fee. Dog licenses are due by April 30th to avoid a late fee. And that completes my report for December 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Selectmen's request.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Mr. Voss?
Just this weekend, Saturday, I swung by the community center. I helped set up for the event they had over there. They call it the Secret Santa. Santa comes and hands out presents on Sunday. I had a great time. All the volunteers, they were fantastic, happy. I just want to thank the police and fire and all the volunteers for putting it on. It's a great event every year, and just want to thank them.
Mr. Berthew?
I'd like to wish people who celebrated Hanukkah a happy time, and there was something a few months ago about Cooper, that dog. We haven't heard anything about that, and it was supposed to be the training for Quentin.
Do you know
And,
anything about it?
I've heard nothing new on that. I will check.
Thank you.
That's the dog's name, right?
Yeah.
Cooper.
Yeah. All set. Okay, I just, we all got a memo from Gene O'Reilly regarding the historical site monument in Oxford. And I would just like to read it so it'd be part of the minutes, because these people do an outstanding job, and we should let them know that we appreciate their efforts. This is from Gene O'Reilly regarding historical sites, monuments in Oxford. The National Huguenot Society recently requested that an article be written about the Huguenot Memorial Society of Oxford. A Huguenot Society member from Connecticut was asked to write the article for the Cross of Languedoc, which is their national publication. The article is expected to be published in early spring of 2014. The article will include one or both of the photographs from the 2011 town report covers. Photographs of the Huguenot Monument were taken by Sarah Laranger, daughter of Claire Wilson. Sarah has given permission that they be able to use this for the upcoming publications. The purpose of sending this memo to you is to report the complimentary comments about the care of Oxford's historic sites and monuments made by the author and the person working with him on the specific article. They spent considerable time in Oxford and did research at Memorial Hall and the library as well as the Huguenot Fort. They were very impressed with the care given to these public properties. They recognized that these properties were respected by both town workers and members of the community. They commented on the sense of pride they found in Oxford and the helpful responses they received to their inquiries. They felt welcomed in a community that obviously cares about its history. And, you know, kudos to the Historical Commission and the Huguenot Society. They do wonderful things as far as keeping up with our historical culture here in this community, and they ought to be applauded for their efforts. That's all that I have. We meet again on the 17th. Okay. We'll also set a time to discuss what we discussed tonight. If any of you have any ideas regarding the position of lieutenant, jot them down, maybe talk to the manager, give the manager the information, and maybe you can disseminate it
I'll
and
disseminate.
make sure that we all are on the same page. Like, there were certain things that I requested, just for an example, being on call 24/7. You know, you may have other ideas, things like that. And then we'll expound on each of our positions and see if it's acceptable by the whole board. I mean, you may have something we may not want to agree with. I may have something that you won't agree with, so.
Right.
But eventually, we've got to iron this out so that we can get this done before we take an official vote by the 15th of January. So let's let this be a work in progress.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Very
That's all
good,
I
yeah,
have.
will do.
Okay,
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, call for the vote.
Yes.
yes.
Yes.